What if I told you that one of the most powerful people in modern history was never elected, never appeared on a ballot, and never stood behind a podium giving speeches to cheering crowds? Yet presidents feared him, governments collapsed because of him, and entire regions of the world still feel the effects of his decisions today. Most people have never even heard his name. But by the end of this video, you'll understand why some historians believe he influenced global politics more than many presidents ever did. His name was Allen Dulles, and he did not rule countries openly. He shaped them quietly, from behind closed doors. And once you understand how he operated, you will start noticing his influence everywhere. Allen Dulles did not begin his career as a spy. He was a lawyer from a wealthy and deeply connected American family. Diplomacy and power surrounded him from childhood. His relatives served as ambassadors, intelligence officers, and high-level government officials. He learned early that real power did not always belong to the loudest voice in the room. It belonged to the people who controlled information. After World War II, the world was exhausted, broken, and fearful of what would come next. The United States and the Soviet Union were racing to shape the future. And in this tense moment, Allen Dulles found his opportunity. In 1953, he became the director of the CIA. Officially, the agency existed to gather intelligence. But under Dulles, its purpose quietly changed. Information was no longer enough. Dulles believed the United States should not simply understand the world. It should secretly guide it. This belief would alter international politics forever. Allen Dulles believed that democracy was only useful when it served American interests. If a country elected a leader who threatened Western influence, access to resources, or corporate power, Dulles believed that leader had to be removed. Not publicly, not violently, but discreetly, so the world would never see who was responsible. And this strategy was about to be tested for the first time. In the early 1950s, Iran had a prime minister named Mohammad Mossadegh. He was widely popular. He was democratically elected, and he made a decision that would seal his fate. He nationalized Iran's oil industry, taking control away from British companies that had dominated it for decades. To many Iranians, this was a moment of pride. To Allen Dulles, it was unacceptable. Instead of sending soldiers, the CIA launched a covert campaign. Money flowed into the country. Politicians were bribed. Newspapers were influenced. Protests were staged. Rumors were spread. Chaos was carefully manufactured. Within weeks, the government collapsed. Mossadegh was removed from power, and a Western-friendly Shah was installed in his place. To the outside world, it looked like internal unrest. But behind the scenes, it was a calculated operation. And Allen Dulles, it was proof that a government could be overthrown without the public ever knowing who did it. That success changed everything. Just 1 year later, the same strategy was used again, this time in Guatemala. Guatemala had a president named Jacobo Arbenz. Like Mossadegh, he was democratically elected. And like Mossadegh, he introduced reforms that threatened American corporate interests. Land owned by a powerful American company was going to be redistributed to local farmers. Allen Dulles decided that Arbenz had to go. Once again, no invasion took place. Instead, the CIA launched a psychological operation. Fake radio broadcasts warned of a massive rebel army approaching. Planes flew overhead to spread fear. Officials were pressured into switching sides. Here is the shocking part. There was no massive rebel army. The threat was an illusion, but it worked. Arbenz resigned. A military dictatorship took over, and Guatemala descended into decades of violence, repression, and civil war. In Washington, Allen Dulles was praised for another quiet victory, but the damage was only beginning. These covert operations created long-term consequences that no one wanted to acknowledge. In Iran, the overthrow of Mossadegh fueled deep resentment toward the West. That anger did not disappear. It grew, and decades later, it exploded during the Iranian Revolution of 1979. In Latin America, similar operations helped trigger cycles of coups, dictatorships, and civil wars. Entire generations grew up under unstable governments shaped by foreign interference. Allen Dulles did not just influence a few elections. He helped normalize the idea that powerful nations could secretly decide the fate of smaller ones. By the 1960s, covert interference had become standard policy. Eventually, Allen Dulles faced public failure. The Bay of Pigs invasion in Cuba was a disaster. The plan collapsed. The embarrassment was global, and Dulles was fired. But by then, it no longer mattered. The system he created survived him. Covert operations continued. Regime change became routine. Influence moved further into the shadows. Even today, when you hear about sudden uprisings, mysterious coups, or governments collapsing overnight, you are seeing a world shaped by the rules Allen Dulles helped write. He never ran for office. He never ruled a country. But for decades, he quietly influenced the direction of global politics. And most people still do not know his name. But now you do.